The voice of the Lord breaketh the cedars. Yea, the Lord breaketh the cedars of Lebanon. Psalm 29, verse 5. David moves from waters to forests. The cedars of Lebanon stood as symbols of strength and permanence. These trees grew tall, straight, and strong. Solomon used them for the temple. And he spake of trees, from the cedar tree that is in Lebanon, even unto the hyssop that springeth out of the wall. 1 Kings 4:33. The cedar represented the mightiest of trees. Lebanon's cedars reached heights of 120 feet. Their trunks measured up to 30 feet in circumference. These trees lived for many hundreds of years. Kings prized their wood. Yet God's voice breaks them like twigs. The word breaketh appears twice. Repetition emphasizes complete destruction. Not bending, not swaying, but breaking. The strongest earthly things snap before God's voice. Isaiah warned, "For the day of the Lord of hosts shall be upon every one that is proud and lofty, and upon every one that is lifted up, and he shall be brought low, and upon all the cedars of Lebanon that are high and lifted up." Isaiah 2:12-13. Nebuchadnezzar learned this lesson. Daniel interpreted his dream. The tree that thou sawest, which grew and was strong. It is thou, O king, that art grown and become strong. Daniel 4:20-22. Then the mighty king became like a beast until he acknowledged God's sovereignty. Human pride breaks before God's voice. He maketh them also to skip like a calf, Lebanon and Syrian like a young unicorn. Psalm 29, verse 6. The scene shifts. David describes the nations of Lebanon and Syrian skipping like calves. The word skip means to leap or dance. Calves skip when released from stalls. They jump with energy and freedom. God's voice makes mountains behave like playful animals. What seems immovable to humans dances before the Lord. The phrase young unicorn translates a word referring to a wild ox, and not a mythical beast. Young wild oxen display tremendous strength and energy. They leap and jump with unrestrained power. Mountains exhibit this same energy when God speaks. Habakkuk saw mountains respond to God. He stood and measured the earth. He beheld and drove asunder the nations, and the everlasting mountains were scattered. The perpetual hills did bow. Habakkuk 3:6. Mountains obey their Creator. The Exodus generation witnessed the Jordan River stop flowing. That the waters which came down from above stood and rose up upon an heap very far from the city Adam. Joshua 3:16. God's voice commanded nature for Israel's benefit. Paul and Silas experienced earth responding to prayer. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, so that the foundations of the prison were shaken, and immediately all the doors were opened, and everyone's bands were loosed. Acts 16:26. God's voice freed his servants. Contemporary believers often forget God's power over nature. Science explains earthquakes through tectonic plates. Meteorology predicts storms through pressure systems. Yet behind every natural phenomenon stands our God who speaks. Christians facing immovable problems must remember these verses. That mountain of debt seems permanent, but God's voice can move it. The diagnosis may seem final, but the Lord who breaks cedars can cure disease. That broken relationship looks beyond repair, but the God who makes mountains dance can restore hearts. The church needs this perspective today. Programs and strategies have limits, but God's voice breaks through every barrier. Our prayers give us access to this powerful voice. Call unto me, and I will answer thee, and show thee great and mighty things, which thou knowest not. Jeremiah 33:3. God still speaks, mountains still move, and cedars still break, but the Lord's voice remains powerful and majestic.